If you don't want to work, if you want something for nothing, and you want to live that YouTube Sailor Channel life of just no worries and endless beaches, then you need to buy my book to show you how. The best way for financial independence is to spend money on a book from someone else who doesn't need money. I'm Brian. Join the adventures as I share what I learned restoring a hurricane-damaged catamaran with the dream to sail the world. I don't know what to say. Things aren't that great for Brian sailing right now. I don't want to go into the details of my personal life. That's not really what this channel is about. It's about boat work. But I guess the good news is I still have the boat. The boat work is still continuing, albeit a little bit slower. I'm gonna cut my hair for the first time ever in my life. I mean, I've had it cut, but the first time I've cut it. All right, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's see what happens. We're gonna do everything like we normally do from the instructions.
When things are getting you down, the first step is to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And so I figured I'd cut my hair, plus it was getting really hot in Florida. And then, of course, we finish it off Brian sailing style. It seems like when you're down, life likes to kick you when you're down. So I was just having trouble staying focused, keeping doing the boat work, plus it was getting hot. And so I figured I needed the best therapy there is. Let's get some sailing in.
Sailing at Melbourne Yacht Club. Boats are getting ready for the regatta. Out here having fun.
I've sailed quite a few boats, but this boat was really interesting because the sheet winch was in the middle and it was shared, and so it made it a little bit tough for racing. It'd be awesome for single-handing, but it was tough for racing. But we still had fun, and that's the point of this. I think a lot of people, if you want to start getting some sailing experience, go ahead and find the local yacht club that has races. There's almost always people looking for crew, and if you can find a club that's not quite as competitive, or sometimes they have races that are more competitive and other races that aren't as competitive, you can find a place to get on there and learn. And the boat I was on, they were even willing to take passengers. So there's a lot of good experience that you can gain from getting out there at one of these yacht clubs, and that's a great way to get started. Getting out on the water sure helped, but by the time I was doing my full-time regular job and it was getting hot in Florida, I still was just struggling. So much stuff on my mind with all the issues that I'm having lately.
Yeah, with a series of personal problems, and then living in the boat salvage yard in the hot Florida sun, I was just getting kind of burnt out. And when you get burnt out on a project, you need to find something to give you some remotivation. And so I decided I was going to take the summer off, and it started with a trip taking my daughter out to Washington State to visit family there, which included a side trip to indoor skydiving. That was a blast, a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I wouldn't do real skydiving. I mean, why jump out of a perfectly good airplane? But that was a blast. Actually, it was a lot more fun than I thought, and it actually made me think, hey, maybe I should actually try skydiving. It's been pretty fun to visit my old hometown, and this lake here holds a lot of memories for me. This was the lake that I first sailed, the first boat I built. I would think I was 13. It was a funny story. It didn't sail upwind, it only sailed downwind. You know, what can you expect when you're 13 and you design your own boat? And so I sailed this boat and ended up the wrong side of the lake and had to get towed back. But we've got a dear family friend that lives here on the lake, and that's where I've been staying the last few days. Check out this view. This is part of the sunset over the San Juan Islands. There's Orcas Island there, Mesa, Susha. This was my cruising grounds when I was a lot younger here in the Pacific Northwest, and it'll be fun to do some sailing out here again. But for right now, it'll be tropical, but it's beautiful out here in the summertime. Check out this gorgeous sunset. So what I did is I put a message out on the Antares forum saying that I was available to crew for the summer, and I got a bunch of opportunities. One of the first ones here was with Mark and Kathryn, and we got to cruise both Ensenada, Mexico, all the way up to the Channel Islands, San Diego, Coronado, Gloria Bay, Mission Bay, a lot of fun stuff. And then next week I'm headed to Thailand, of all places, to go help one of Antares there. So I'm super excited about that. So finally, Brian's sailing will actually be some sailing. And don't worry, don't unsubscribe. There's still boat work. There's still lots of grinding and boring stuff like that coming up that you'll see the progress. But it's just great to like take this opportunity to get remotivated about the project. And to think that, you know, this is gonna be my lifestyle someday.
So Mark and I started the trip off in Ensenada, Mexico. And just like any other good boat trip, we started with some boat work.
Still can't believe you trusted me to take your boat apart.
Well, you know, your boat came apart and you're putting it back together, so it's true. You don't have too much. Well, no, you disassembled it as part of the process. So I'm very pleased to be, you know, part of Brian's sailing.
See the expert at work now.
There we go.
I taught him everything I know. It took about 5 minutes. And now he's an expert too. Just like me. A professional boat, well, I shouldn't say boat builder, boat repairer. Mm-hmm. And he told me that, like, of all the boats that he repaired, it all comes down to one thing.
Which is?
Tabbing.
Oh.
He said the tabbing, all the boats he's done, katanas, everything, like, and some of the gunboats, everything that he's worked on. He does a lot of high-end carbon stuff. He says all the repairs come down to failed tabbing, because they tabbed it poorly, or they didn't put tabbing, or they forgot, which happens a lot in production boats. No. It's a very common thing whenever you repair stuff like this or improve stuff or whatever. You don't just put the filler in it.
Yeah.
You put the glass on afterwards, because that's really where the strength comes from. Although this is our special formulated glass, or filler.
Filler with the part with glass inside of it, so
yeah. So we fill this with
all that glass.
Yeah. Done this here, you've got to get the air bubbles out, and normally you'll have something else to get the air bubbles out, but basically you want to do this without disrupting the fibers. Mm-hmm. But you got to get the little rubs like this, and so like this here is much better than this there. You can see the difference.
Yeah.
So you got to do that, and then the same up here.
And this repair was non-structural. It just repaired an annoying little squeak, which when you have such a solid boat becomes really annoying. So after this, we were ready to clean up and head to town.
Dinner in Ensenada, we decided to go someplace fancy. We looked it up on Google Maps to find a well-rated restaurant to sit down and have a nice dinner.
It is well-rated, but
anyway, exactly. Not what we had in mind, so I guess you gotta be more careful. All right.
In search of.
Yeah, we're gonna find something. That's our challenge now. Our last night in Ensenada, and we decided we're having Chinese food. So we're on the passage from Ensenada up to San Diego, and I'm in bed because I'm sick. I'm not seasick, I'm like actually sick. We're just motoring now, but lesson learned. Don't eat Chinese food when you're in Mexico. Actually, Mark was fine, so it's probably okay. Someday, this will be my life. On beautiful Catamaran in a beautiful anchorage. It's just a little inspiration to keep me going. Though I enjoy places like San Diego here. The weather's great, but you know, kind of a crowded anchorage. I hope to visit some really remote places as I travel the world. Excited for that someday. If it gets dark and you don't see me anymore, come get me in the water. Come get me in the dinghy.
We will.
Don't run over the head bobbing.
We'll follow the screaming.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the life of a boater. Paddling away off into the sunset.
After 2 stops in San Diego, we headed to Avalon on Catalina Island. I always wanted to go to Avalon. I think mostly because I wanted to find a crowded bar to try to call someone from. If you don't know that song, you need to look it up. Southern Cross.
I love coming to touristy places like this, but nothing beats the isolation and the more private areas up at Anchorage. But it's always fun to visit a place like this.
Oh my God, Ryan! Hey, how you doing? Oh my God, I love your channel.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you are my hero, man, no doubt about it. Is your catamaran like? Where is?
Oh
that
no,
now?
so
I know I've been watching your
still in
YouTube
Florida.
channel.
Still in
I
Florida.
got all of that, but so I've been following you since day one.
We got it.
And I just really dig what you're doing, not just the catamaran stuff, but also I'm a software engineer just like you.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, I get your engineering mindset and everything else. And just thank you for what you do.
Oh, that's cool. And you say you have a boat, right?
Yeah, it's right there. It's Ensenada 28.
Okay. I'm excited about because being what I consider like a micro celebrity, right? I love when people come up and just talk, and it's only happened like a handful of times outside of the Annapolis Boat Show. When I was in the Annapolis Boat Show, it was a different story. Like there are people left and right coming up to me,
Right.
but outside of that, I've never think like three times in public that someone has come up to me. So thank you. It always makes my day, makes my week, right?
Your hairline is better in person than it is on the video, by the way. So I can see what the camera does to you. Yeah, it's not fair. Well, you get all that sand.
All right. Did we get that on video? I've got to say that, right? And I'm not quite as am I as crazy as I was on the video?
No, I love the video. And your personality is awesome.
But yeah, so I'm not quite as I don't always dress like a homeless person and stuff like I do on the videos. Yeah. The guy at the boatyard, I came in and I just had his shirt totally covered with epoxy and just my hair's a mess and whatever. And he's like, yeah, and we're at a junkyard. It's not really a boatyard. It's more like a junkyard, right? It's a scrapyard. And so the guy's like, yeah, you're lucky we're not at a real boatyard because you wouldn't get away with looking like that. I'm like, people see you. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm filming this. We got thousands of people seeing me like this.
Yeah, I know.
How was Point Conception?
Oh, that was fun. You hit that point at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Nice.
Like a washing machine, right? It lives up to all the horror stories, I guess. But, it's certain things that when you're sailing, it's really great to sort of go beyond the horror stories, because you don't understand it until you're in it yourself. And always, it seems to be painted in a way that keeps people from doing it. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I didn't even check the weather when I came over.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Anything that Southern California can throw at me, I've already been through.
That's true.
Because we were up against 8-foot volume swells. 9-second.
Yeah, when you get in the worst, like the worst you've ever been in, and you get in this and you're like, oh, this is horrible, we're going to survive. And then you survive fine. And then the next time you're in something that's that big, you're like, oh, this is nothing, I've been through this. Until you get it bigger the next time, right? Yeah. And then it's 20-footers, and you're like, oh, we're going to die.
We're going to die.
And then you just survive, and then you're in 20-footers next time, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is nothing.
Yeah, it's all relative.
It's true.
It was a great trip to Avalon. It was so fun to meet a fan, to be able to talk sailing with them. But now, it was time to move on.
So it's a blustery day, yet sunny. And Brian's feeling very comfortable at the helm. We hit 9.3 knots, sailing off of Catalina. And now he can't wait to do the same, except faster.
There is nothing that can cheer you up more than the wind and whatever hair you have left, and the peaceful motion of the waves and the ocean.
It's so awesome to sail this boat today. Really, the more experience I get on it, the more I get used to it. Like every boat sails differently and wants different things. And one thing I found about this boat is it likes wind. Yeah, you need wind to sail this boat. And so we were, as we get 15, 20, we're getting 22 knots. It really likes 20 knots, and this boat will just scoots when you got that kind of speed. Some of the lower speeds, you get around 12 knots and the boat just doesn't like to go. But it'll be interesting to see when I get my boat done how it weighs, right? Because a lot of this is all determined by the weight and how that ends up. But then it's beautiful. It's so awesome to just be out on the water again, and it just makes me excited to get the boat done so that I can actually do this for real on my boat. We're coming into Cherry Cove Marina up here. on Catalina Island. So Mark clearly doesn't know me very well because he trusts me at the helm. So far.
One of the great things about cruising is all the people you meet. When we were at Cherry Cove, we were able to meet up with some of Mark and Kathryn's friends from cruising and go on this great hike up the mountain boat, as well as we met the lagoon dealer and another lagoon owner and had a great dinner on this giant lagoon boat. It was really cool. There was also this other harbor that we took a look at. It's called Two Harbors, and you can get across them on this little land that you can just walk right between them, which was pretty cool too.
So Brian clearly doesn't have, he's homesick. He misses working on his boat, so instead he's contorted deep inside a cabinet working on electronics. Feeling a lot less homesick now.
Electronics we installed was this cool remote.
All I have to do is to push a button. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. How cool is that?
With all this sailing, I figured it's time to brush up on my sailing skills. So I found this book in the yacht club at the Ensenada Resort. So I was just I just used it for the joke for the screenshot. But and maybe it is a good book. I don't know. I never read it. But what I actually am reading is this one here. World Voyage Planner by Jimmy and Ivan Cornell. And so if you've heard of Jimmy Cornell, you'll know that he is a super famous world cruiser, and he's got a whole series of 5 books. This is kind of one of the other ways that I can help to get myself psyched up and ready for the journey, is to start planning potential routes. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Brian Sailing. I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate you watching and putting up with my just putting up with me. So thanks. Hopefully it's inspiring to you. I shut down my Patreon account because I wasn't making regular videos. Hopefully we'll kind of get into a groove again, and I don't know when that'll start up, but I know over this winter I am going to paint the boat. And so when I get back to Florida in probably October, I'm going to get the boat painted and hopefully launched in the spring. So that's the current plan, but you know, the plan will change. Thanks for watching. You got to subscribe with notifications if you want to find out how this is all going to go down. And there should be some exciting stuff coming up. I've got all the footage for that second part of the engine assembly video, as well as hopefully we'll be doing some stuff in Thailand. That should be a lot of fun. All right. Till next time, take care, my friends.